Wait, it's good, it's good. Ready?
Being switched on.
Because it didn't keep counting the seconds. It now it's going. Now it's going. Should we start again?
Hi there. Welcome to Revision at PRS. I'm hoping over the next few minutes to run down some of the topics that I'd like to cover in your Year 11 Superpowers GCSE paper in a couple of weeks' time. Obviously, if you're attending another school and want to use my resources and my knowledge, you're quite welcome to do so. If you're at a posh school, you may think you're taught by a historian. You're not, you're taught by a teacher. Anyway, have a listen to this from the textbook, from me, and see where you can get on with it, and give it a go. Right, Superpowers Relations. It's the Cold War paper. It's a paper which is testing you on your knowledge, not about sources, not about interpretation, about knowledge. It's the stuff you have to remember. Now, Cold War begins, end of World War II, right? Get it into your heads at this point that at the end of World War II, the USSR, communist, led by Stalin, is about to go to not quite a war with the USA, led by initially Roosevelt and then by Truman. In the first of these little sets of notes, I will look at the two conferences towards the end of the war, Yalta and Potsdam. We'll have a look at what the differences are, what the similarities are, and how to sort of analyse them in terms of exam questions. Right, firstly, Yalta, 1945, Russia. Hosted by Stalin, attended by Roosevelt, and also by Churchill. The leaders kind of trusted each other as much as the leaders could have done. Remember, they'd been brought together because they wanted to defeat the Nazis, defeat Hitler, and put Europe back to right. Now, they agreed on a certain number of issues, and as I read them from my page, so I don't forget them, I'll let you know what they are. Right, they agreed to split Germany and Berlin once the war was over. A little bit to Russia, a little bit to Germany, a little bit to America, a little bit to France, a little bit to Britain. Germany couldn't be trusted to look after itself. Secondly, right, the Nazis and the war criminals that they caught and arrested would be tried at Nuremberg, and eventually, it was agreed at Potsdam, they would be executed. And finally, I'm going to say that the Russians would agree to join the war in the East against Japan just as soon as the war in Europe was over. Now, just before they stopped meeting at Potsdam, which is just outside of Berlin, the Americans with the atom bomb, and because the Russians hadn't stuck to their promise in Yalta, the Americans dropped the bomb on the poor old Japanese. They get mashed, right? The Russians think, well, hey, this is not actually aimed on the Japs, it's actually a message to us. So consequently, the Russians start to get a little bit shaky. So we flip to Potsdam as I turn the page, where Truman has replaced Roosevelt, Attlee has replaced Churchill, and Stalin is still there, and he's unlike those two because they're not communists and urban at all. So they meet in Berlin and they split Germany, they split Berlin, they put the war criminals on trial, they hanged loads of them, loads of Germans on a rope. Finally, they agreed to give some compensation to Russia. We'll call it Poland, right? Nobody really wants them. And finally, they agree on a new German government. The Cold War begins, though, because the bomb was dropped on Japan, not just once, but twice. And the Russians didn't have the bomb. Now, ideologically, communist dictatorship against capitalist democracy, Soviet Union and Stalin against the free world. The next 45 years or so sees the relationship between those countries change for the worse, for the better, indifferently, and over the course of the next few little clips, hopefully you'll get an idea of what the Cold War develops into and from. End of part.